Good evening, dear EWB members. Thank you so much for joining our webinar on Zoom and Facebook today. This is our first webinar of 2023, and we are very excited to start this year with a very interesting and important topic, the higher education institutions and graduate school opportunities in the USA. But before we start the webinar, let me introduce our speaker, Ms. Manizha Davlatova. Manizha Davlatova loves teaching and learning about other cultures, especially through friends and travel. She teaches English to locals and the Tajik language to foreigners. She started teaching English at the Institute of Languages in 2012, and the last 2 years she has been teaching at other institutions in Dushanbe, Tajikistan. She has 4 years of experience teaching Tajik, 3 years to foreigners in Dushanbe, Tajikistan, and the last year to students at the University of Georgia, USA, where she has served as a Fulbright foreign teacher. Last but not least, this year, Manizha Davlatova became the finalist of the EWB Master Workshop Winter 2023 grant, and she will be conducting her master workshop this February. She's the alumna of the Fulbright FLTA in 2021-2022, and she has also been to India, Delhi in 2019 for the iTech program. And to answer our questions and give more information on the topic, Ms. Manizha Davlatova will also be joined by Lauren Walters, a graduate student studying veterinary medicine at the University of Georgia, and Reed Stephenson, a PhD student and instructor of recording the religion department at the University of Georgia. Please prepare your questions and don't lose this opportunity to learn more about educational opportunities in the USA. And here I give the floor to our speaker, Manizha. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Do you want me to share my presentation or
yes.
Do you want me to start sharing my presentation?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you so much for the generous introduction. Yes, I am Manizha Davlatova, and I was a Fulbright FLTA, which stands for Fulbright Foreign Language Teaching Assistant at the University of Georgia. I taught Tajiki for 2 semesters to American students. It was amazing. And I am not a graduate student, but when I was in the US, I had a passion to get into the grad school, to get my master's degree from one of the institutions of the United States. So I did a lot of research, and I learned a lot about the application process, how to apply for graduate studies, and today I want to share my experience. So because I am not a graduate student, that's why I invited one of my friends who is a current graduate student at the University of Georgia. So if you have any question about the graduate school, you can definitely refer them to Lauren Walter. Thank you so much, Lauren, for accepting my offer. And I know, Lauren, today you have a class, right? And you are skipping your class for my presentation.
I got an excused absence, yes, but
thank you so much.
They were very understanding. They let me borrow a room and everything at the vet school. So
thank you so much. Thank you. So do you want me to share my screen? Okay. Hold on. 1 minute, please. I'm sorry. Okay. Can you see it?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Still, it's not working?
No.
Sorry, I am
No
really
problem.
sorry. I don't know why. Oh, I think I need to leave it open, right?
First, you need
Hold
to
on.
open your presentation and then start sharing your screen. Yes.
Okay, I don't know why it's not coming up in my, hold on. Let me,
If your presentation is opened in the full screen mode, then you need to first escape and then start sharing.
oh, but it's not, it's still not coming up on my share screen. This is a problem. Oh my gosh, I'm really sorry. Oh. Oh, it's here. Sorry, I got it. Can you see it?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. I'm really sorry for your time.
No problem.
Is it
Thank you very much for your
okay?
time.
Yeah. So as Miss Zuhro said, the topic for today's, sorry,
Yes.
am
You
I
cannot,
muted?
no, you're not muted. Like we see some gray squares on the screen.
Really?
This is not in the presenting mode. It is just
Oh,
slides.
hold on. I know what you mean. Hold on. No.
Perhaps if you hit from current slide on the top left, it might go into presentation mode, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yes, yes, we see your screen. Yes. Manizha, could you please unmute yourself?
Yes. Is it good now? Sorry. So as Ms. Zuhro said, the topic for my today's presentation is about the higher education institution and the grad school in the United States. And I would love to give you an overview of my presentation, so it will give you some idea what you expect for today. So I will be talking about the higher education institutions. Then I'll be talking about the university and resources, specifically about the University of Georgia and about the graduate school versus undergrad. I'll be sharing some scholarship and tuitions, assistantships, and step how to apply for grad school and the requirements for graduate studies. And also I will bring you a list of universities which offer like full funding, especially for TESOL, English as a second language, and English literature department. And I'll give you some tips and advice through what I have done. So I have a question before I start my third slide. What do you think? How many higher educational institutions are there in the US? You have four options: 1,000, 1,300, 2,400, or 5,300. What would be your guess? You can leave your answers in the chat box. Okay. Valijan, good job. Surprisingly, the last number, wow. Wow. So it's surprisingly, you all got it correct, because the first time when I heard about this number, I was shocked, like how a country can have a university of this range, 5,300. Yes, you're right. There are 5,300 higher educational institutions in the United States. Sorry, it's going too fast. Yeah, and there are public universities, there are private universities, and Ivy League universities. Ivy League universities are kind of belong to the private universities, but in today's presentation, I kind of found some difference and put it in the separate slide. So what is private university? Public university. Public universities are funded by the government. Public universities are less expensive compared to private universities, and there are almost 1,625 public universities all over the United States. And in terms of size, they are bigger than private schools. And here in this slide, I brought 10 top, I'm sorry, it's going too fast. Top 10 public universities all over the US. And it means that these universities are very competitive, and the acceptance rate for these universities are very low. And they consider one of the best universities among the other like public school. This is the University of California, which is in Berkeley, California, and it was founded in 1868. The second is University of California, but it's in Los Angeles, California. The next one is University of Michigan. It's in Ann Arbor, Michigan. The next one is the University of Virginia, which is in the state of Virginia, and it was founded in 1819. The University of Florida, which is in the state of Florida. The University of North Carolina, which is in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And the University of California, it's again in Santa Barbara, California. The next University of California is in Irvine, California, and it was founded in 1965. And the last one is the University of Texas, which is in Austin, Texas, and it was founded in 1883. Okay, so these are the list of 10 top public universities in the United States. The next is the private universities. The private universities, they are not funded by the government. They're funded by non-commercial organizations. And compared to public school, they're more expensive. And there are almost 1,600 private universities all over the US. And in terms of size, they are smaller than the public universities. And again, I brought like top 10 private universities all over the US. And the first one is Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which sometimes it's abbreviated into MIT, and it's one of the famous universities in the US. The next one is Stanford University. It's in California. The third one is the California Institute of Technology. It's again in the state of California. And the next one is Duke University, which is in North Carolina, and it was founded in 1838. I'm not listing the number, you can see them, I'm really sorry. And the next one is Vanderbilt University, which is in Tennessee, in the state of Tennessee, and it was founded in 1873. And the next one in Northwestern University, it's in Illinois, and it was founded in 1851. And Washington University, it's in St. Louis, which is in Missouri. And the next one is Georgetown University, which is in Washington, D.C., and it was founded in 1789. And the last one is the University of Chicago, which is in Illinois, in the state of Illinois. Yeah, so these are the top 10 private universities all over the US. And the third group is Ivy League universities. So as I was doing the research, the Ivy League University belonged to, like, they consider them as a public university, but I think they are kind of different because there are only 8 Ivy League universities in all over the US, and they are worldly known. Okay, their ranking is very high, and they are very competitive, and they are private schools, and the acceptance rate of these universities is like super low. It's even from 4%, if I'm not mistaken. And they are famous for their alumni. So as I was doing my research, 8 US presidents were graduated from the Ivy League universities. And what do you think, if they are worldly known, do you think that you could guess? I think I have them in my, I didn't know that I have the logo of these universities in my slide. So what would be your guess? Okay, can you put your answers in the chat box, please? It's just interesting. Hello? What are these 8 Ivy League universities which are worldly known? Harvard, Lauren, good job. Yale, good job, John. Okay, Harvard, Yale, what else? Okay, yeah. 2 of these universities are Harvard and Yale. Harvard, yes. Everyone knows Harvard, right? we got 3 Harvard answers. Cornell, Rodrigo, yeah. Cornell University is also one of the, oh, I have the list already. Okay, let me go through the list now. So as you said, like there are 8 Ivy League universities all over the US, and they are really known. Their ranking is very low, and they are very super competitive. And it's kind of very difficult to get into these schools. The first one by ranking is the Harvard University. It's in Cambridge, Massachusetts. The next one is Yale University. It's in New Haven, Connecticut. The next one is Princeton University. It's in Princeton, New Jersey. The next one is Columbia University. It's in New York. And the next one is Dartmouth College. It's in Hanover, New Hampshire. And the next one is Brown University, which is in Providence, Rhode Island. And the next one is University of Pennsylvania. Sometimes they call it Penn University. It's kind of abbreviated this way. And it's in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And the last one is the Cornell University. It's in Ithaca, New York. Okay, so as we see the numbers, all of them kind of the old universities. 1636, 1701. So all of them are kind of very old universities. Okay, and oh, I'm sorry. So while I was visiting a friend in Boston, Massachusetts, I had a chance to visit Harvard University, and it was amazing. It was one of my best experience in the US. I was very amazed the way how they preserved this university is a very old university, okay? And I was amazed how they preserved this historical view of this university and the town itself. For example, when I was walking like in the city, like in the college town and in the Harvard campus, if like you feel like the heaviness of the buildings, and you see like there is a lot of history behind those buildings. Okay, so it was one of my like greatest experience in the US. And yeah, so as I told you, I will talk a little bit about the university and resources. As I said in the beginning of the presentation, I was a Fulbrighter at the University of Georgia. I was a foreign language teaching assistant. So University of Georgia is one of the oldest public university. It's public university, and it's in the south part of the US. And the main campus of this university is in Athens. Athens is a city in Georgia. Athens is a very small city, and sometimes people call it college town because the main attraction you will get from this town is the university itself. And so I want to mention that all the universities in the US, they have their logo, mascot, and flag, okay? So the logo of the University of Georgia is Arch, as you see here, Arch and University of Georgia. And the mascot of University of Georgia is, if I'm not mistaken, is it Aga, UGA. So this is after this animal, dog. And the flag of the University of Georgia, as you see it in my screen, okay? And football is a big event in the University of Georgia. And I also want to mention that last year, University of Georgia was the champion. And it's a big event in the university. Like you will see people are enjoy a lot watching football, and yeah, it's a big event. And about the academics, so as I was a foreign language teaching assistant, I was teaching Tajiki. I supposed to be an assistant, but they didn't have any Tajiki professor, so I was a professor and an assistant itself. So the schedule of the classes at the university is standard. So if you have class on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the length of the class will be 50 minutes. But if you have class on Tuesday, Thursday, the length will be 75 minutes, okay? I just brought very important and interesting factors about the university comparing to what we experience in Tajikistan. And the classes at the university go until 10 p.m. at night, okay? From 8 to 10 p.m. And like all the like I was a Tajiki instructor at the University of Georgia. So as a teacher, we had an office where the university, the department, provided us with all the office supplies, which was very interesting because we never experienced it in what we have in our universities. And yeah, the university basically is run by students. And the other very interesting point about the University of Georgia was how people are passionate about reading and they love reading, and they have so many spaces for students, like they have so many reading spaces. And yeah, here, like they have group study room, collaborative study rooms, they have open spaces, they have graduate studying room, they have graduate reading room, they have individual study room, and they have silent study room. So they have a place where it's dead silent, okay? You cannot hear anything at all. And yeah, these are the reading spaces. I brought some examples. As you see, these are the individual rooms. These are the group like study rooms. These are the open air study room, okay? And I asked a friend who is a current FLTA at the University of Georgia to make a video of the main library of the University of Georgia. So if you want, I can play the clip. This is I'm sorry, this is the main library of the University of Georgia, okay? And we have captured some of the like reading spaces. I think that will be very interesting for you to see and to know. I'm sorry, can you see and hear it?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Okay, As you see, this is the main library of the University of Georgia. So what is a graduate school? Graduate school is like pursuing additional education in a specific field, right? And while undergrad education leads to bachelor's degree, graduate education leads to master's degree and doctorate, and sometimes I call it doctoral degree. And also, like all U.S. colleges and the universities accept graduate applications online, typically through their own website. Okay, we'll be talking a little bit about the grad school. So while I was in the University of Georgia, I had the chance to visit a commencement ceremony of the graduate students. Let's watch it together. I'm so happy that I made a video of it. We are proud to celebrate. So students who are sitting in the middle of the hall are the graduate student from the education department, okay? Accomplishments of our outstanding students with you today. Please remain standing for the presentation of the flag of the United States of America and the flag of the state of Georgia, to be followed by our national anthem. The colors will be presented by cadets from the University of Georgia Air Force and Army ROTC units. The national anthem will be led. So as you see, this is the commencement ceremony at the University of Georgia. Sorry. Okay, so who can apply for graduate studies? I don't know, like I'm talking for myself, okay? So I always had an idea, a wrong belief that if you want to get into the grad school, especially you want to get your master degree, you need to do it immediately after your bachelor's degree, okay? You cannot have any gap years. But it was not the same case when I started searching about the grad school in the United States. There is no age limits if you want to get into the grad school, especially to get your master degrees, okay? Anyone who holds a bachelor degree can apply for graduate studies, okay? And there are so many opportunities for us, especially international students in the US. Okay, as I told you, when I had a passion, when I wanted to get into the grad school to do my master degree, I did lots of research and I learned a lot about the application process, about the grad school. So the requirements for grad school is different from universities to university, but I kind of did a little bit of research and found like the common requirements they have for the grad school. This is the SOP. I will be talking in the upcoming slides. What is SOP? What does it stand for? And you need 3 letters of a recommendation. You need a writing sample, but it's not the same, like it's not the requirement for all the universities. Some universities do not require writing sample to get into the grad school. And you need the transcript, you need your CV, and you need a language exam if English language is not your first language. You need to have TOEFL and GRE, which I will talk in the upcoming slides. So what is SOP? SOP stands for Statement of Purpose. Okay, it's a short essay that highlights your education background, your achievements, your goals, and your motivation for the department you're applying for. And the range of the words for the statement of purpose is from 500 to 1,500 maximum, that it should not exceed this number. And I want to highlight that the statement of purpose is the most important piece of a strong applicant. Okay, so your statement of purpose is the best way to help you stand out among other applicants. So you need to take it very, very serious. And so this is a sample of the statement of purpose. I got it from one of my friends who got into the grad school. This is how it should look like. I think it's only 1,000 words, but okay, GRE is an important step in the graduate school application process. So, and the GRE is kind of a multiple choice computer-based. It's a computer-based standardized exam that often requires for admission in the graduate school, to the graduate school programs. And it's designed to measure overall academic readiness for graduate school. But I want to mention that many universities in the US do not require GRE anymore. Okay, I did some research and like many of them do not, it's kind of became optional. It's very difficult if you are not American to take GRE exam. And the next one is TOEFL exam. Many of us know about TOEFL exam. It's a test of English as a foreign language, okay? So many universities have their required score. They have, you need to have their required score. So it starts from 80 to, some universities require 80 score from TOEFL, but some of them like 100, 105. But it's 105 is for the very competitive universities. And yeah, I would like encourage you always to get their desired score. And as I said, like the minimum score to get into the grad school is 80 and the maximum is 105 from TOEFL. And the writing sample, as I said, not all the universities require writing sample to get into the grad school. But what is writing sample itself? Writing sample are simply good examples of your writing skills. Okay, so they are designed to ascertain whether you have the necessary writing and often research skills to complete required tasks of the position you seek or graduate studies. I think I have only 6 minutes. So what are the steps to apply for the graduate study? So first step is find university with a strong program of your interest. For example, if you are in the education department, if you're going to do your TESOL, find a program find a university which has a strong program for your field, okay? And also research funding, because tuition is very expensive in the US. Not like it's I don't think that, yeah, it's very, very expensive. And find 2-3 professors who have the same interests as yours. While you're going into the university to find a department, try to find 2-3 professors of that department and who have the same interest, and you can directly contact them because their contact will be available in their website. You can contact them and you can email them, you can let them about your interest, and let them that you are going to apply for the graduate studies in their department. And before reaching to them, please read their area of interest. You need to have a kind of an understanding about what their research area is, okay? And it's also a really good networking, like going through the universities, finding the professor with the same interest and emailing them. It's like creating a network for yourself. And in your statement of purpose, you can mention a professor from that department you're applying for. So when you reach out to the professors, you can like also ask them, you can ask their permission if you can mention their name in your statement of purpose, okay? And also find 5 universities of your interest, okay? Try to apply. If you want to get into the grad school, you cannot make it with one university. You have to apply at least into 5 universities, and one of them may accept you, okay? And start drafting your statement of purpose, which stands for SOP, as soon as possible. What is assistantship? So as I said, it's very expensive to pay your tuition yourself. There are so many ways to waive your tuition at the university. So one of the way is assistantship. So what is assistantship? Assistantship is a salaried student employment, okay? It's a graduate assistant. It's a graduate assistant work as a set number of hours per a week. So the assistants work as a set number of hours per a week. They receive like being an assistant like will help them waive the tuition for the university. And also they will be provided with a monthly living stipend, okay, if you get the assistantship. So each assistantship has its own unique tasks and duties assigned by the department or faculty members who hire the position. The responsibility can be different, okay? So the assistantship can be assisting a professor with grading or teaching courses independently, or conducting research with faculty, or performing professional tasks in an on-campus office, lab, clinic, or facility. And it's I would say it's a really good networking for your future career, because being an assistant, it means that you will be working closely with the faculty members, with all the professors, okay? So tips and advice. So yeah, I want to give you some tips if you want to get into the grad school. My first tip, I would say advice, would be look at the university's acceptance rate, okay? For example, some universities acceptance rate can be low, as I said, like 4%, 5%, but some of the universities can be very high, up to 60%. What it means, for example, if 100 people apply for that field, 60 people can get acceptance. It means you will have lots of choice to get into the grad school. Check the application deadline. This is the must, okay? You cannot extend the deadline yourself. You have to upload your documents by the deadline which is signed by the university. And start drafting your statement of purpose as soon as possible, because it's a very time-consuming document, okay? And start preparing for TOEFL if English is not your first language. And get your recommendation letters ready. Get your recommenders ready, okay? So you need to have 3 people who will write a recommendation, who knows you better, like professionally and personally, okay? And yeah, and request for your recommendation letters ahead of time. Give them some time, give your recommenders some time. And also, United States, it's a very diverse and it's a very big country. So you need to look for the location. Where do you want to be living in the next 2 years if you're doing your master degree, or 6 years if you're doing your PhD? In a big city, or in a smaller town, or in a diverse town, okay? So these are very important. And here, as I said, I listed like 9 universities which offer funding for international students. And they have like the department, I think my time is all, they have like, it's in our field, like TESOL, the University of North Dakota have the program for TESOL master degree, and it offers funding, like fully funding, okay? And the requirements are not so difficult, okay? The University of Georgia, they also offer funding for PhD in language and literacy education and TESOL and the world language education. The University of Georgia Department of English, it means if you want to do English literature, they also have funding for master and PhD. The next is the University of Michigan also have the Department of English offers some funding. So if you want to reach out to any professor, you can definitely do it. These are the websites. And the University of Maryland, they have the Department of Second Language Acquisition. They also have full funding. And the University of Minnesota, it's in the state of Minnesota. They also have master degree in TESOL. And also Portland State University, which is in Oregon, it also has the Department of Applied Linguistics. They offer funding. And the last one is Northern Arizona University. It has English department if you want to do your master or PhD in English department. I am sure there are 100 more other options and opportunities if you if you do research. Yeah, and my today's presentation is over, and this is my email. If you have any questions, you can definitely reach out, and yeah, I'll be overjoyed, happy to answer to your questions. And even I'm happy to meet in person and give you some tips and advice from what I have experienced. Thank you so much. Thank you for the audience and everyone who were watching. And thank you so much. So if you have any questions, you can definitely refer them to me or to my friend Lauren. And we have another, I think John Barton is also, he's applying for some university. He can also be helpful to answer your questions. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so for you also, for your time that you give us.
Yes, thank you very much, Manizha. It was really interesting and very comprehensive presentation. We have a number of questions from our followers in Facebook. So you or other guests, other speakers.
Oh, Reed is here.
Yes, yes. So the first question is, how long does it typically take students to complete a graduate program in the USA?
Who can answer? I don't know. Okay.
So I can speak to that a little bit, and then if anyone else wants to. First of all, can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So it kind of varies on what graduate program you're pursuing. I know a typical master's program is usually like 1 to 2 years, depending on your specific field. I know people at UGA who pursue a master's for 1 year, and I know others who are 2 years. My program specifically is 4 years long, but that's just for veterinarian school specifically. Before I even applied to veterinarian school, I had to have 4 years of undergraduate education before that. So my total time in school will be 8 years. And then other like PhD and doctorate degrees that you can get can vary widely. They could be even longer, in some cases like 6 years, depending on the kind of research that you need to do and that kind of thing. So it varies widely. From my experience, I'd say it ranges from like 2 to 6 years is kind of what you would plan on, depending on the specific degree you're getting. That's just my experience.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. So the next question is, do applicants need to take a graduate school entrance exam?
So I think the GRE is the most common type of entrance exam that will be either recommended or required. For me, The GRE was not specifically required, but it was heavily recommended. And if you didn't have the GRE, then you needed to have a pretty good GPA, which is a grade point average of how well you did in an undergraduate degree before you started grad school. So for me, it made you, I think in some cases makes you stand out as an applicant if you have a good GRE exam score. So for me, I did take the graduate records exam, and I think that's pretty typical kind of across the board. Other programs might have more specific exams that they require. Like I know law school specifically, if you were to pursue a law degree in the United States, you have to take an entrance exam called the LSAT, and that is specific for that degree. And so I think, and then for medical school, for human doctors, not animal doctors, but human doctors also have to take something called the MCAT, which is a similar kind of entrance exam. So yes, that it is very common to have some kind of standardized test that you have to take before you can start grad school in general, but the specifics of that kind of vary with the degree you're pursuing, but definitely plan on having to take some kind of exam. It's very typical.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is, do graduate schools in the USA require that bachelor's degree is in the related field of study?
Again, for me, I can speak from my experience. Veterinary school actually does not specifically require a bachelor's degree related to your field of study. However, it does require that you have taken classes, specific classes prior to veterinarian school. So I have students in veterinarian school who perhaps majored in something like art, for example. So that was their major, but then they had a minor under that, which means that they studied more science-based classes. So the majority of their time at UGA was spent studying art or whatever it was, very non-related field. But they still took required classes like chemistry, physics, biology, those kind of very like science core classes. So it often helps to, rather than majoring in something that's unrelated, that you would major in a specific like science related field to get into veterinarian school, which is what I did. So for me, I majored in animal science in undergrad, and that helped me ensure that I was taking all the classes that I would need to get into veterinarian school. But it is not typically required, and it does are specifically required that you have that bachelor's. It just is required that you hit all of the needed classes before you get into vet school. So yeah, you could be in education, you could have an education related undergraduate degree and still potentially get into veterinarian school if you made sure that you had taken all the required classes beforehand. And so that's based on my experience. Reed or John might be able to speak a little bit more to other different like PhD and master's programs, but I know for veterinarian school, it's not necessarily required, but in a lot of cases it is.
I can speak to something like law school. So I'm a PhD student in the religion department. I'll also bring up the age thing because I felt like there was a target on me, Manisha. But so I do have a religion undergrad, but I also have just a few credits short of a history undergrad. So in those kinds of, and I have a master's in divinity. So and also sometimes, like Lauren was talking about those extra classes. So for example, there are certain programs in the United States. For example, I can speak to my department in that if you aren't quite up to speed on the classes, you can get like a 1-year degree between a master's and a PhD in the religion department or in the religion field. That's called either a THM, or so you could get like a master's of theology between an MA, a master's of arts in religion, and then a PhD. Pardon me one moment. I have three very loud dogs downstairs. But also too, so I think it just depends, like a science-based, something like what Lauren's in. There's no way I could, as a religion major, go into a vet program. It would be frustrating for everybody involved. But in the humanities, I think there's a little more give and take as far as what your undergrad and your master's were. And as far as age, I am third career technically. And there was a large gap. So I graduated with my undergrad in 2009 in my 30s. And then in a few years, I went and got a master's degree. And then a few years later, now I've started my PhD. So there's no hard, fast rule, but I think it's helpful. I think that sometimes academics look at people who have real world experience as opposed to someone who is what is called a pipeliner. So you went straight from high school into your undergrad, into your master's, into a PhD. And that's not the case with everyone. It could also depend on your advisor, but I think that there are plenty of people out there who would look at someone in their late 20s or their 30s or 40s or even their 50s and say, hey, this person's gonna this person really wants to do this and they're going to make a contribution to the field. So I'm also apologizing for being late. I'm really bad at time zones.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So, John, if you would like to add something to this.
Yeah.
No.
Let me try to change my microphone. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so hi everyone. Hope you're doing okay. So I would say, similar to what Lauren said, the programs I'm applying to just required certain classes. For example, they require you to take certain language classes during your undergraduate degree, but there was no specific requirement that you had to get a degree in a specific field. But like Lauren was saying, I think it really depends on the subjects that you are studying.
Okay, thank you. So we have here a question coming in Zoom. Several questions, actually. One is, does the university take the TOEFL or we can sit the exam in our country?
I guess I could take that. I think that you'd probably have to take the TOEFL in your country because you need it when you're applying, right? So you won't have already gone to the United States. So I would say, yeah, probably during the process of applying, you take the TOEFL exam.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from Parvina Rizoeva. There are a lot of opportunities for those who want to enter a university. What about non-degree short-term courses for researchers in different fields?
I have to say, I'm not especially familiar. I'm no expert on that question specifically, so I'm not sure I can answer it, to be honest. Manizha might have a little bit more experience with that, as she was a Fulbrighter, and she didn't get a degree, but she had plenty of teaching opportunities while she was here. So
yes, I can take that question. I think if you want to do something like a non-degree program, you can definitely like apply the opportunities which U.S. Embassy offers. There are lots of like opportunities for Tajik people who want to, like, they are non-degree programs. They are the short terms, but I have no idea that there are some opportunities for non-degree program. I don't have an idea.
Okay.
I can speak to that a little bit. I know that some universities, like for example, I know you mentioned Cornell earlier. Cornell has a certificate program, so that's not a degree. Now that certificate program is in herbal medicine, but there are degrees in there are certificates like in leadership or in some other kind of something. So those generally are online. I'm not as familiar. Like I said, I just looked at the one program. And so there are opportunities like that that are that maybe you've already got a degree and you're wanting to specialize in something. So there's something like that. But I think those are very specific to the universities and also to the field. So I think the best way to look for that would just be search certificate.
They for the TESOL like field. If you want to get the certificate, is there any question? I have a question. The presenter have a question. I have a question to Reed. Reed, I know that Reed is, as she has already introduced herself, she is a graduate student at the University of Georgia. She's doing her PhD, and she has an assistantship, right? Can you give us like your experience as like assistant? Were you an assistant for the professor, or you had your own class, you conducted your own classes, or what did you do as an assistant?
So, so my first year in my PhD, so yes, I do have an assistantship. So an assistantship means that my tuition was covered and I had a monthly stipend. And depending on how you live, and if you have roommates or whatever, that it's enough to live off for the month. You're kind of at the poverty line. But if you're smart and you have roommates. I don't know why I said romance. If you have roommates,
You're good.
then you can you can alleviate some of those costs. So my first year, I was a teaching assistant and in the writing in the disciplines program. So I was a WIP TA, and that meant I sat inside of a class with a professor, and that this was a writing heavy course. So rather than the professor grading all of the papers, they saw the final paper, but I would, professor didn't give me the time to do this, but my role was to help students write better papers. Because I think, especially with undergrads, so many people come in and think, I can't write a paper, there's all this competition. Because even in the public universities, there's a lot of competition, especially in states, scholarships based on grade point average. But so I did that. And so I didn't teach the class, but I was in, and I had certain days where I would lead students through how to be better writers. And then this year, I am an instructor of record, which is still something that you still get a stipend. You're still considered a graduate assistant. But I teach Religion 1001, which is Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And so you have to teach 3 classes throughout the year. So I taught 1 class last semester. I'll be teaching 2 classes this semester, but those are completely your own. There are guidelines from the department, like you should use this, here are the textbooks we approve, get these things into the class. But that's my experience. And the way, because I was a WIP TA, I didn't have what the other first year PhD students had, but they were TAs that were eventually going to have their own course, but they were sitting in a class with a professor, and maybe they had like Friday just for discussions or whatever. I can say specifically to my department and in my university, there has been a lot of effort put into making sure that you are equipped with tools to be an assistant. They're not just going to put you in a classroom and say, here, go teach. There are structures and systems in place that train you before they send you off on your own.
Thank you so much for
Sure.
sharing.
Well, I think we have the last question for today. And the question is, what can I do to improve my chances of admission? And before one of you take this question, well, as you know, today, many online and in-person courses, paid and free, are very popular, especially online ones. And we in English Without Borders also provide some courses for teachers. And in Tajikistan, many people are obsessed with getting certificates from all the courses that they attend. So I personally also want to know if any additional courses or some work experience really matters while applying to the graduate studies in the USA, and what are some other ways to improve chances for being admitted to the university or graduate school in the USA. Thank you.
I know for my graduate program specifically, work experience is a big deal, because at least in the United States, it has become more and more common to have a bachelor's degree and to have the education before you get into grad school. So people are looking for candidates who stand out in other ways outside of that. So if you come from an interesting background, if you have extensive work experience in the field, good letters of recommendation are a big one in my field specifically. I did have to have at least 3 letters of recommendation, and one of those had to be from a veterinarian at minimum. During my application process, I was able to get 3 letters of recommendation, all from veterinarians, because I had at that point, pretty extensive work experience over the summers in between my classes and everything. So they're looking for like the number of hours and type of experience you have in that field, because they want to make sure that you're dedicated to staying in that field after grad school and working through grad school and beyond. So I would say those 2, like work experience and letters of recommendation, really help. It is also very helpful if you have a good GRE score and a good academic background. But more and more commonly, I'm running into professors and people in admin who really say that that's not the determining factor for people getting into graduate schools, at least for veterinarian school. And I've heard that pretty consistently across the board, at least for me. I'm trying to think of other. Yeah. So your SOPs are very important. For veterinarian school, I didn't have to write an SOP per se, but I did have to write a total of 6 short essays just as part of the application process. 3 of them were for UGA specifically, and 3 of them were for the AVMA, which is the overall branching National Veterinarian Association in the United States. And so there were like 2 applications I essentially had to fill out, and one was for the AVMA and one was for UGA. So, and those 6 essays that I wrote all were in response to specific prompts, and often were very similar to the SOPs, and that I had to explain why I wanted to be in the field, what I wanted to do as a veterinarian, why I was motivated, and also like talking about my previous experience and building on those, like my specific experience in the field, and building on that to create a story of who I was and who I wanted to be. So it is very similar to SOPs in that you're like selling yourself and presenting yourself. And so those kind of essays are very important. And I think for me, I took about 3 months working on those essays and studying for the GRE, and getting together my transcripts and everything to make sure that it was like complete and thorough before I applied, and getting recommendations. So I would say those 3 things overall, like SOPs, work experience, and recommendations, making sure you have good letters of recommendations. Make sure that you actually know the people that you're getting a recommendation from too. A lot of students will just go up to a professor and ask for a recommendation, and the professor will say, well, you haven't talked to me at all. I don't know you personally. I don't know how to recommend you to anyone because I don't know you. So really spend time getting to know people you admire in the field, working with them, getting recommendations from them, and then they can really vouch for you and your abilities. And I think that will go a long way, especially in veterinary medicine. So that's just my experience.
I think it's helpful if you have an interesting project that you want to work on. Lauren and I come from very, very different fields. I could see where the work experience as, you know, as a vet student is really important because there's much more a hands-on element, a practical element. You know, there are so many things that have been done already. And I think in today's postmodern context, if there is, so for example, you know, I'm in America, there are people who are leaving American religion. And so this is something that's been, you know, around for probably the last 40 years, 50, 60 years, which in the timeline of history is not that big, not that long, but it's a newer thing. So for example, some kind of post-colonialism, something postmodern, something that, especially in our department, we have a lovely mentor professor by the name of Dr. Medine, who loves projects that are disruptive to the common, to the status quo. So something that's going to contribute to society. You know, not that someone you would work with wouldn't want a topic that's been studied before, because so many people, everyone's got a different perspective, even on a similar topic. But I think if you can find someone who, so my mentor is American religious history and American church history. And so I'm studying why women are leaving the church, the institutional church, to practice witchcraft. That is you know, a disruptive topic. And my advisor doesn't necessarily agree with my topic, but he sees it as something that's timely and something that's happening like now. And I hope, I think that a way that academia in the United States is changing is that there are many more people who are embracing public scholarship. So if something that you're doing is going to make the world a better place or be disruptive to systems and structures that are harmful, you know, that might be something that someone would be more interested in taking on. So I think that's also helpful as well. And by disruptive, I just, you know, I don't mean burning anything down. I mean just like a different way of looking at something that the status quo has looked at and said, oh yeah, that's good. But looking at the other side of that, I don't know if that's making sense, but I think an interesting topic or an interesting research area that is just going to make the world a better place, more equitable, more, you know, fair. I think that that's something that a lot of people, academics, look at.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you, Manizha Davlatova. Thank you, Lauren Walters, Reed Stephenson, and John Barton for joining our webinar today. Manizha, for your wonderful presentation. The recording of this webinar will be saved on our Facebook feed, and we also will be publishing it on our website. So those who missed the presentation, the webinar, can watch it later. Again, thank you very much. I hope that we will have more webinars with you. Have a nice day ahead and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, have a good day. It's daytime in the US, right?
It is daytime in the US. Have a
And
good
it's-
night over there.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.